Australian and New Zealand school leaders. Can I first congratulate you on the amazing work that you've done this year, reimagining what education needs to look like for your stakeholders, for your students, for your staff, and for the parents out there in the community as well. It's been remarkable. We're not finished yet, are we? There's a lot of work to do to make sure that we, one, recover from what's been happening, the disruption that has happened to your school, and also that we try and get our trajectories back in place around not only student learning, but around building great citizens out of our kids as well, and how we can bring those stakeholders, as fractured or as distant or as upset or as stressed or even as fine as they may be, back into harmony and alignment around that purpose. I've been talking a lot lately around ways that we can find positives in this. I had an article published on May 12 in The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald that looked at examples like the Christchurch earthquakes in New Zealand in 2011, and we looked at also the Hurricane Katrina disruption in New Orleans, and how there were certain positives that came out of that. It was things like teachers, instead of sort of focusing heavily on the curriculum as a whole and ploughing through it, found themselves triaging and picking the right parts and being more fussy about what was important within the curriculum and what was important within their school's educative offer, which I thought was a fascinating thing. And then we looked at student performance and how there was this odd phenomena of, in those locations, of students performing quite well on end of year exams. And some of that seems to be attributable to the fact that they got a break. They kind of had what we might refer to like a footballer or a sports person getting an injury early in the season. They had a break so that when they hit the finals, they were fresher. They were more capable of performing. And there needs to be a lesson in there about how preparing our young people to perform well from a mental perspective, not just from an academic perspective, must be something that we can learn as we move forward. So what I've done is I've planned together, because I started to get a couple of calls from schools who were looking for help with how they can do the post-COVID recovery thing. I started to look at what would it look like to train an executive team to lead that in their school. And so I've put together a day that allows us to focus on what are the post-COVID pedagogies we'll need to deploy to be able to focus on what's important. How can we train our staffs to be able to identify and to be able to prioritise those key areas that we want to put the most attention into? How is it that we need to adjust assessment, and how is it that we need to lead and reconnect through culture so that those stakeholders aren't fractured and expecting different things? It also leads to, from a leadership point of view, how could we be expert communicators about all of that plan? So we put together a day that we think can really make a difference for your executive team. Now, we can deliver that for your school face-to-face if it's possible. We can deliver it online if it's as a one-day off-site, even on the weekend, if that's what we need to do to get you that support. Or we can break it up a little bit and run it, for instance, over a fortnight to bring all of the modules of that together for your team. And what we're going to do is plan a bespoke, a tailored recovery plan for your school post-COVID-19. So we're calling it post-COVID leadership mentoring. The other bespoke part of it is that you would then, for your school, be able to determine how much follow-up you want. So it could be dependent on the size of your school, it could be dependent on the budget of your school, and you're going to be able to tell me whether you want zero follow-up, just give us the day and leave us alone, or whether you're going to want a weekly or a fortnightly, a monthly, a termly catch up, just to make sure that you're on track and to have that critical friend walking by you while you're doing the implementation, because I'm in a privileged position of being able to have the time and the opportunity to plan out such an experience like this for your school. So it's pretty simple. If that appeals to you and would like to have a chat about it, my personal email is adam@adamvoigt.com.au. Remember that there's no H in Voigt, you wouldn't be a pioneer there. And all we'll do is have a chat about it and see if we can help your school out. Again, I wish you well, and I thank you for everything that you've been doing so far through an incredibly tricky 2020.